Hello, true believers, and welcome to another episode of Marvel Draw. I am your host, Brian Crosby, and today we're going to be drawing Miles Morales, Spider-Man. So to get us started, of course, I've got my sheet of paper, got my inspirational tools, got my action figure, my comic book. I'm going to be using a blue colored pencil to do my underdrawing, and then I've got a size B pencil, and I've got a 6B that I can use for the darker lines and some of the outline stuff. But you can use, as always, use anything that you guys have handy. Crayons, markers, colored pencils, whatever it is that you guys have will work just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna be drawing his head today. Now, a lot of the drawings we've been doing have various characters looking straight up at you. We're gonna do this one slightly at an angle. I just start with a circle. It's not perfect, it's just kind of sketchy and loose. Again, this is the underdrawing part. Okay, now remember, you guys, if I ever go too fast, you can always stop the video, get caught up, and restart it again when you're ready. All right, so I'm gonna have him looking kind of off and down this way to my left. All right, so Miles is right. This is a center line dividing his face. Now we're gonna do his chin. So if you've seen us do Spider-Man before, it's a very similar size. So I like to make more youthful characters have a thinner chin, thinner jawline. So I'm going to take that center line after I've drawn the chin, and I'm going to go from top to bottom. So essentially I'm dividing his face into two parts. Now I want to know where that eye line is. So I'm going to come all the way across about where that eye line would be. You see, it goes all the way around the head. Imagine that is a circle that goes all the way around. You know, sometimes people put the eye line up too high or too low, makes your characters look kind of funny. So I like to put it right pretty close to the middle. Maybe a little bit up, but pretty close. Okay. Now I like to know where the eyes are going to be. Now you don't actually see Miles's eyes when he has the mask on, but I know his eyes are going to be right around there. So I just want to make sure those lenses cover up where his eyes would be. Now for Miles, I like to draw big, emotive eyes. Like I said, he's a bit more youthful to me. So I'm going to do kind of these oval shapes. That's essentially going to be the basic shape of his eye. Now we're going to go around that, and we're going to draw the outside of that spider lens. Okay, so it just kind of goes outside that circle. Do you see where my little eye dot is? It's right there, so we know that it's sitting behind the lens of his mask. Okay, so then the outside portion of that lens comes up and then comes all the way down and around. And there's something about large eyes that really helps when you're drawing younger characters. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So it comes to a point there, and here's the outside of that circle I made before, and then the lens comes up and around. So it's gonna pop off just slightly, and then there's the front of that lens, and then he comes down and around like that. We already got a pretty good look at what the lenses are gonna look like on Miles's mask. I'm gonna tighten up these lines a little bit more. All right, so that center line's right there. All right, so we're gonna use our center line to help us with the webbing. Okay, so with my underdrawing, I'm gonna make those web lines. So I'm gonna make one that comes down right to the center, and then I'm gonna have another one up here across the top, and then another one over here on this side. So 1, 2, 3. So 3 web lines right there. And then I wanna have a few down on the bottom. So I'm gonna use that center point again and do one that wraps on that side, another one that wraps on that side of the chin, then we're gonna have one that comes off to the side over here, and the same over there, and then one that goes on the back. Pretty similar to Spider-Man. So you want to make sure that's consistent, the size of the eyes. Okay. Now we're going to make the kind of the scallop or the curved lines. Now remember, the curves go in towards the center, not away. All right. So we're going to start with a small one in here close, and we're not going to use that center line down to below. So we're going to go around that. We got a small one right there in the middle. Now we're going to space them out. So we got one here. See how those curved lines, the curved is going towards that center. All right? And I just keep doing that all the way around. I make those curved lines, and that's how you create the webbing on Miles's mask. All right, so we're looking pretty good. Now I'm gonna put my colored pencil aside, and I'm gonna take out my, my HB pencil, or your number 2 pencil, or whatever it is that you have. And I'm gonna commit a little bit to these lines now. So I'm gonna start with the eyes here, because there's a little bit of a trick when it comes to drawing those web lines. So I'm gonna do the frame, the lens frame, and come all the way around, just like that. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And you notice, unlike Spider-Man, I don't color those in here. With Spider-Man, I color those in black. So in this case, those are actually red, if you can see my action figure here. So the frame around the lens is red, unlike Spider-Man's, whose is black. So there we go. So I'm gonna leave those open for when we color those in. So when colors in, we'll make them red. Such a cool design. So now we're doing his right eye, just like that. And so we've got the eyes laid in there. Okay, now with the web lines, those are gonna be red. So if you're coloring this digitally or in Photoshop, it's easy to just make a red mark on top of essentially a black mask. But if we're doing this in pencil, instead of just drawing a line, we actually want to double up the line. So we're gonna make two, we're gonna frame it so that you can make it red in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to make this middle line like this. See how it's not actually connected? It's actually 2 lines. And then go all the way up to here. So I used my guideline to make an open area that I can color in later. I'm gonna finish making the shape of his face before I do the rest of those web lines. And I'll come in with a heavier pencil later on and kind of outline this. All right, so now I'm gonna finish up those web lines. So I'm gonna leave that one open in the middle. So see how I'm framing that? So that's an open area right there in the middle. And then it's gonna come down. So it's one big connected piece all the way. And see how all those are connected? So when I color this in, that's gonna look awesome because I'm gonna be able to go in with a red marker or a red colored pencil, or if you're coloring it digitally, you can do it in Photoshop. So it takes a little longer maybe than drawing Peter Parker Spider-Man, but it really gets you a cool look when it's all done. Following my guidelines, that's why I do the underdrawing, is so that I have guides to go by. I've got one that comes back here, and I've got one big web shape on the back of his head like that. So there you go, okay? So that's kind of how I do the webbing, all right? So now I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do some shading around his face. So he's got a black costume, and that creates problems when he has arms and legs kind of flying around the way Spider-Man does. So in order to have the costume pop off, you wanna leave key highlights, okay? So I'm gonna do the bulk of this. I'm gonna shade in black here, so I can just go in between where I've already drawn those web lines. But I want to leave a highlight around maybe the back of his head. Let's leave a little highlight up here on the top of his head. I'm knowing where my highlights are going to be. So the light source is coming from up here. So you want to plan ahead with your drawings. So I'm leaving that highlight up there. Maybe some hatching right there. Coloring that in, doing my awkward left hand thing where I gotta get around the artwork, not totally smudge everything. See what difference that makes when you do that double lined webbing? It really helps them stand off. filling in all these black areas. And even then, I'm not quite done. I'm gonna do some highlights on his eyes as well. There you go, okay? Now I'm gonna make some, like I said, some highlights on his eyes. I'm gonna do some swooping lines kind of coming in here, looking out over the city. I'm not gonna go too crazy on the reflection. I like to kind of keep it subtle. There we go. Maybe do a little bit of hatching around the edges. All right, now I'm gonna take my 6B. I'm not quite done yet. I'm gonna take my 6B and I'm gonna do a nice outline here around Miles. Remember that webbing is raised, so I can maybe go up with just a hair. And if you wanna really play with this a little bit more, you can actually do another shadow underneath that webbing. So I wanna keep in mind that light's coming from up there. So I wouldn't have a shadow on both sides, but I would have one down here and maybe underneath his eye as well. The shadows give your drawings volume and give the illusion of being 3 dimensions. So I'm gonna do a nice outline here on our buddy Miles. There you go. So with that, there is Miles Morales, our friend, our pal, one of our newcomers to the Spider-Verse. So now, of course, before we call it a day, you gotta make sure you sign your work. Brian Crosby. There you go. So hope you guys had fun learning how to draw Miles. Again, share with us your pictures of your drawings of Miles Morales and just have fun learning to draw the Marvel Universe. And so as always, I am Brian Crosby and this is Marvel, your universe.